There's a room in your house you haven't opened in a while. Maybe it's not a literal room. Maybe it's a drawer, a closet, an email you keep scrolling past, a conversation you know you need to have, a project sitting on your desk with your name on it. You walk past it every day. You know it's there. And every time you pass it, something tightens in your chest just a little, not a lot. Just enough that you look the other way, pick up your phone, make another cup of coffee, and tell yourself you'll deal with it later. That's procrastination, but not the way most people think about it. See, we've been told a strange story about procrastination. The story goes like this. You're lazy. You lack discipline. You need better time management, a better planner, a better morning routine, maybe an app, maybe a productivity system with color-coded blocks. And if you just tried harder, pushed through, forced yourself to sit down and do the thing, you'd be fine. But you've tried that, right? You've made the list, set the alarm, downloaded the app, and still, at 2 p.m, you find yourself watching a video about how octopuses open jars instead of doing the one thing that actually matters to you. So maybe the problem was never laziness. Maybe it was never about effort at all. There's an old idea in Buddhist psychology called Vedana. Don't worry about the word. What it points to is something very simple. Every experience you have, every thought, every task, every moment comes with a feeling tone. Not a big dramatic emotion, just a quiet flavor, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. And your mind, before you even realize it, is already sorting, already reacting, moving toward what feels pleasant, pulling away from what feels unpleasant, ignoring what feels neutral. This happens faster than thought, faster than decision. It's like a hand touching a hot stove. You don't think, I should remove my hand. You just flinch. Procrastination is a flinch. That's the thing nobody tells you. You're not avoiding the task. You're avoiding a feeling the task gives you. And you're so used to flinching that you don't even notice you're doing it anymore. You just find yourself reorganizing your desk, scrolling through your phone, suddenly very interested in cleaning the kitchen, anything that doesn't carry that quiet hum of discomfort. Now, let's go back to that room. Imagine your life is a house, a normal house, nothing fancy. And most of the rooms you move through easily. The kitchen, the living room, the hallway. These are your comfortable tasks, answering easy emails, running familiar errands, doing things you've done 100 times. But there's one room, maybe upstairs, maybe at the end of a hallway, where the door is closed. And behind that door is something important, something you actually care about, a project, a difficult conversation, a creative idea, a decision that could change things. You know it's important. That's not the problem. The problem is that every time you reach for the handle, something happens in your body, a tightness, a heaviness, a fog that rolls in and makes you suddenly exhausted. And without even deciding to, you pull your hand back, walk to the kitchen, and open the fridge instead. The room isn't dangerous, you know that, but your body doesn't. Your nervous system has tagged that room with something, anxiety maybe, fear of not being good enough, the weight of caring about something so much that falling short would actually hurt, and so you avoid it, not because you don't care, because you care so much that the caring itself has become uncomfortable. This is one of the great misunderstandings. We think procrastinators don't care, but most of the time, it's the opposite. The things you procrastinate on most are often the things that matter to you most. The low-stakes stuff gets done. It's the meaningful stuff, the stuff tied to your identity, your hopes, your sense of who you could be, that gets pushed to tomorrow. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said something interesting about this. He said, "It is not things that disturb us, but our judgments about things." In plain words, it's not the task sitting on your desk that makes you anxious. It's the story you've built around it. The belief that if you try and fail, it means something terrible about you. The assumption that the discomfort you feel is a warning sign rather than just discomfort. So you don't just avoid the task, you avoid what the task represents. And here's where it gets clever. Your mind, when it wants to avoid something, doesn't say, "I'm scared." That would be too honest, too direct. Instead, it says things like, "I'll do it when I'm in the right mood," or "I work better under pressure," or "I just need to do a little more research first," or the classic, "I'll start Monday." These sound reasonable. That's the trick. Procrastination almost never feels like avoidance in the moment. It feels like logic. It wears a very convincing mask. The Taoists had a concept they called Wu Wei, which people often translate as effortless action or non-doing. But it doesn't mean sitting around doing nothing. It means acting without forcing, moving without struggling against yourself, like water finding its way downhill. It doesn't push through the rock, it flows around it. Now, the opposite of Wu Wei isn't hard work. The opposite of Wu Wei is fighting yourself, and that's what procrastination actually is. Not rest, not laziness. It's an invisible war between the part of you that wants to move forward and the part of you that's afraid of what moving forward might feel like. You're not doing nothing. You're spending enormous energy keeping that door closed. So, what do you actually do about this? First, you stop calling yourself lazy. That word has done more damage than almost any other. Every time you label yourself lazy for procrastinating, you add another layer of bad feeling to the task. Now you're not just avoiding the discomfort of the work, you're also avoiding the shame of being someone who avoids things, which makes you avoid it more, which makes you feel more ashamed. You see the loop. So step one is simple. Drop the label. Replace it with curiosity. Instead of, why am I so lazy? Try, what am I actually feeling right now? That's it. Not a fix, just a question. But it changes everything because it moves you from judgment to observation. Second, and this is the part people usually skip, you don't try to make the feeling go away. You walk toward the room with the feeling still there. This is what the Buddhist teachers mean when they talk about sitting with discomfort, not enjoying it, not pretending it's fine, just letting it be there while you do the thing anyway. The feeling is not a wall, it's weather, it's fog in the hallway. You can walk through fog. It's uncomfortable, it's disorienting, but it won't hurt you. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need to feel motivated. You don't need the fog to clear before you open the door. You just need to put your hand on the handle while the fog is still there. That's the whole practice. And here's something strange that happens when you do this. The room, once you're actually inside it, is almost never as bad as the hallway. The hallway is where all the dread lives, the anticipation, the stories about how hard it's going to be. But once you're sitting at the desk, once the first sentence is written, once the conversation has started, something shifts. The fog thins. Not because you defeated it, but because you stopped standing still in it. There's a line from the Bhagavad Gita, one of the oldest Hindu texts, where Krishna tells Arjuna, you have the right to the work, but not to the fruits of the work, which basically means your only job is to begin. What comes of it, whether it's perfect, whether people like it, whether it meets the impossible standard in your head, that's not yours to control. Just do the work, let the results be whatever they'll be. This is incredibly freeing if you let it land, because most procrastination isn't about the work itself, it's about the results, the fear of judgment, the fear of falling short, the fear of finding out you're not as capable as you hoped. But if you take the results off the table, just for now, just for this afternoon, all you're left with is the next small action. And the next small action is almost always something you can do. Not the whole project, not the finished thing, just the next step. Open the document, write one sentence, send the first text, sit down for 5 minutes. You're not building the house, you're just opening the door. Third thing, pay attention to what happens right before you procrastinate. There's a moment, tiny, easy to miss, where the flinch happens, where the discomfort rises and your hand reaches for the phone or the fridge or the distraction. That moment is the most important moment, not because you need to fight it, but because you need to see it. Because once you see it, it loses some of its power. It goes from being an invisible force that controls you to just a feeling, a sensation in your chest, a tightness in your throat, a small voice that says, not now. And you can hear that voice, acknowledge it, and open the door anyway. The Stoics called this the inner citadel, the idea that there's a calm, choosing part of you that exists behind the noise, behind the impulses, behind the flinch. You don't have to overpower the flinch. You just have to remember that you're bigger than it. Now, I want to be honest about something. This doesn't mean procrastination disappears. It doesn't. That room at the end of the hallway will always have some fog around it. The things that matter to you will always carry a little weight. That's not a flaw in you. That's what caring feels like. The goal isn't to become someone who never hesitates. The goal is to become someone who hesitates, notices, and walks forward anyway. Not with clenched teeth, not with a motivational speech ringing in your ears. Just quietly, the way you'd walk into a cold ocean. One step, then another, then you're in it, and it's not so bad. Remember, you were never lazy, you were afraid, and there's a very big difference between those two things. Lazy doesn't try, afraid wants to try, but doesn't know how to move with the weight of wanting something. Now you know, the weight doesn't have to leave before you move, and the weight gets lighter on its own. That room is still there, at the end of your hallway, door closed, quiet. You don't have to kick it open, you don't have to be ready, you just have to turn the handle and step inside, fog and all. The room has been waiting for you, and honestly, it's not as dark in there as you think.